Do mods bemuse you? Do you wonder what the difference between a prop and an asset is? And what the heck is a LUT? All this and much more answered in today's beginner's guide.
Come here now, girl.
Hello and welcome to the beginner's guide to mods and all things workshop. Before we get started, I'll ask you right now, before we both forget, please give this video a like. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, do that too. There's new content every day, and once you've seen today's show, you really won't want to miss out. In today's show, we'll be going back to basics, so don't worry if you don't understand computing at all. By the end of the show, you'll have a much better understanding of the absolute basics of the workshop. And to do this, we'll be literally going back to the drawing board. Now, there's nothing scary about what I'm about to show you. I have oversimplified everything that you'll see to the nth degree. This arrow represents our game, with the program code running from left to right. The top half of the arrow will be the secret hidden programmer's gaming code, and the bottom half will represent what you or I, the actual gamers, will get to see. To help understand this better, let's start with a game I think you might recognise. We'll put this name on the left of the arrow. On the right of the arrow, we'll put what this game's output needs to be able to work correctly. This is far too complicated for a game like Cities Skylines, so I'll just sum it up like this. Now we know the game and the desired outcome, let's write some code. There. That should do it. The code is going to be in the top half of the arrow. Now in the bottom half, let's see how this code appears to us. Right, that's it. Now, let's release our own vanilla game. Firstly, I've invented a nice easy programming language called 5-slots. This should be slightly easier to understand than the Unity engine. Next, let's give our game a name. The Alphabet Game. I can smell the big bucks already. The aim of the game will be to build words using letters from the first half of the alphabet. Brilliantly, this leaves us room for a sequel too. What does our game actually need to work? Well, for this, the coding output will need to be between 10 and 12. Again, this will make all sorts of sense in one moment. Now, let's write some code. Here's one I prepared earlier, and I've tested and retested it, and it definitely works. The output of our code is 10, which means the game will work. Huzzah! Next we'll add a modding facility using what I'm going to call the canopy. In here the modders will be able to add their own code to add extra functionality to the game, just as long as the output remains between 10 and 12. Our first mod was created by Yulia from Ukraine on their dad's laptop. This is called the +1 mod, and always sits in this slot. The mod works with the output of 11 within the accepted levels. The second mod was made by Merrick from America as part of their college project, and is the ×5 mod. This sits above the second slot and bypasses the rest of the vanilla code. 2 × 5 is 10, and therefore the mod works. But are these two mods compatible? And magically they are, despite being produced completely independently in different continents by creators who are completely unaware of each other. Our third and final mod was created by Buddy from Buddystan. Again, they have no knowledge of Yulia or Merrick's work. Buddy's mod is the ×3 mod and sits in this slot, bypassing the rest of the vanilla code. And Buddy's code actually works too, outputting the number 12. Is this compatible with the +1 mod? Well, the answer is obviously no. Although both mods work, neither of the first two mods would be compatible, although one called the Subtract2 mod is rumoured to be in the making. Every now and then the game's developers will send out an update code, and this can at times break the existing mods. For example, let's say the first slot is amended to a 3. The total vanilla output is now 11, but this will now break both the ×3 and ×5 mods, though the +1 mod will still work fine. The great news is that Yulia fixes his mod in the days following the update, but Buddy suffered a nasty zebra-related accident while on safari and won't be able to return to his computer anytime soon. This is why updates can break some mods, but not others, and why some mods are fixed and others become obsolete. Modders do this stuff for fun. After an update, please allow time for modders to fix their work. Hassling them won't make them work any faster. Right, let's see what our vanilla game actually looks like. Here we have a light blue background with 10 letters from the first half of the alphabet. A, B, E, F, G, H, I, J, K and M available to play with. If you want the missing 3 letters, you'll have to pay for the DLC. The letters, these things you can move about and actively interface with, are our game's assets. Creators have already started work on innovative additions to the workshop such as numbers, punctuation and emojis. But for this, we'll just stick to our vanilla assets. Notice the clever colour coding, with the vowels in yellow and the consonants in orange. These base colours, along with the plain sky blue background, are the vanilla theme, the colour scheme as dictated by the game. But there's more to a theme than just colours. Here, we've downloaded and installed the red dotty theme. I think you can guess why it's called this. This red dot pattern is called a texture. Textures are a big part of themes in Cities Skylines. There is more, but we won't touch on this here. Next we'll look at colour correction, otherwise known as LUTs. Imagine I gave you a pair of rose-tinted spectacles right now. All the colours in our game display would take a hint of pink, despite the base colours still being orange, yellow, sky blue and red. But colour corrections aren't simply an overlay. They are a highly complicated colour filter using a lookup table, otherwise known as LUT. There are millions of colours in the game, and the LUT would use each of the colours' RGB values. I've oversimplified this for you, reducing the number of colours in the world to just 4. I've downloaded this LUT from the workshop, and once installed, the vanilla theme colours will be corrected to the ones listed next to them in the table. Remove the LUT, and the colours will return to the vanilla settings. There's just one last thing to check. I've reactivated the ×3 mod and it doesn't affect the output from the theme or the LUT, although mods that deliberately affect graphical settings will of course do this. Okay, let's throw away the drawing board and take a closer look at the assets within the actual game. I'm often asked what the difference between a prop and an asset is. Well, all props are assets, but not all assets are props. Props are usually just aesthetic. Here we have a medical centre. This actually serves a purpose. It increases the land value in the immediate vicinity. It will treat visiting sick people, as well as sending out ambulances too. Props will have no specific purpose. You can just put them down to decorate your city. I felt my medical centre didn't look industrial enough, though for this you'll need a mod called Prop and Tree Anarchy. And with this standard of detailing, you can see why I have fewer subscribers than Strict Toaster. There's another type of asset, one that will eat into your RAM more than any other. These assets are called agents. Unlike buildings and props that stay in the same place, agents are what bring your map to life. These agents are assigned a route to get from one location to another, and can be cars, trucks, trains, planes, boats, bikes, or even pedestrians. Tracking the motion of all of these agents is why your frame rate can drop when you get to a larger population. Even so, these agents are just still assets. So that's all the basics. It's time to head over to the workshop. You can access the workshop via the Steam app, or use a browser by visiting steamcommunity.com. You can browse without logging in, but if you want to add any mods or assets to your game, then you really should sign into your account. From the Steam Community homepage, simply search for Cities Skylines in the search bar, then select Workshop from the navigation bar. Once again, on the right hand side you have all the submenus, with the maps at the top, followed by the mods, save games, themes and so on, followed by a breakdown of all of the assets, and colour corrections are right at the bottom. Once you've subscribed to all of your new items, it is time to launch the game. Remember, it might take a few minutes for all of your workshop items to appear. Head into Content Manager and click the little box to ensure that your new items are activated and in your game. With mods, you'll sometimes see an options button that will enable you to affect how your mod will work within your game. Now it's time to launch a new game. First, we'll select a map. You'll see an option for Custom Map Theme. If you've subscribed and activated the theme, you'll be able to select it from here. Once the game is launched, you'll be able to access your active mods via the gear button in the top right of your screen. Click it, then select Options. Choose the mod you want to affect, then simply change the setting. You can also change the LUT in the options by choosing Graphics, the colour correction, and then choosing from the drop-down menu. Some mods will have an on-screen button to work with. Here I'm using Ultimate Eye Candy to change the time of day. We can also use this mod to easily change the colour of the LUT. We've started on Clara, before switching to Clarity, Cold Embrace, Rain Day, Sedona, and Photorealistic. And finally, before we go, let's have a look at some random themes, and notice how the textures change as we switch between them. So that's it, everything you need to get started with the workshop. Don't fear mods. If in doubt, read the workshop comments. Many of your questions will already have been answered. Remember to stay subscribed to this channel, as I'll be doing more beginner's guides very soon. I'm BonBonB, and you've been very welcome.